The following podcast may contain strong language. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Hallmark of Greatness Last Orders, the podcast where we look back into the films our favourite Hallmark actors and directors would rather forget they were ever involved with. Except not this week. I'm Joe, and I am so very alone. Yes, Plant is on his holidays. Again, he has more holidays than fucking Judith Chalmers. And James is on his honeymoon after his lovely wedding to Katie, which I was allowed to attend and didn't embarrass myself in front of everyone, so that was good. So instead, I've got a friend on, and we're going to talk about a film that contains a topic very close to our hearts. You may have heard his sweet dulcet tones on One Nation Under Ted, or more likely the Untitled Wrestling Podcast, or probably just whispering outside your window at night. It's the fantastic Jay Luft.
I don't usually tell people it's me whispering. I like it to be a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it's just it's not horrible things you whisper. It's nice
no, it's just sweet nothing in the air. Yeah.
Into the ether.
We're talking about some Greek mythology, aren't we?
We are, indeed. There may be someone else joining us in a bit, but he is in America, so I don't know the time difference. If he shows up, he shows up, but I don't know. But before we get into that, if you want to keep up to date with all the upcoming film choices and that, you can follow us on Twitter at Hallmark of Great, all one word, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Hallmark of Greatness. Or if you have the body of a child but the voice of an 80-a-day smoker and want to recommend a film to us, you can email us at hallmarkofgreatness@gmail.com. Christ. So yes, Greek mythology in
Hercules is Greek mythology.
Yeah, I know, but in all my knowledge of it, I don't remember Socrates being a god and mucking about on Mount Olympus.
I don't think they much about Greek mythology, mate.
I don't remember Hera being from Transylvania.
She was definitely a vampire, right?
It started off quite good, and then as it got on, she was just like, fuck it, I'm going full Count Von Count.
You can see the regret on Elliot Gould's face as each scene goes by.
I honestly thought Elliot Gould had died. He's not, he's still alive.
No, he's still alive.
But I thought this was what killed him. This was the last thing he did. He had a tax bill to pay, and he's like, I'll do it to protect.
He's absolutely done this as a favor, hasn't he?
Well, I've had looked through his filmography, and he has done some absolute. I think it's just for a paycheck. He'll just show up and do it for the money. But before we get into that, I've been left very careful instructions by James for the synopsis machine. So let me just turn it on. Pop in the special eggs. Flick this switch here and crank the handle. See, good that's a new ending bit. Do you recognise it?
I feel like I should. It wasn't in the film, was it?
No. That's the after the fight noise from Gears of War.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was the pterodactyl from...
The pterodactyl. They couldn't afford to pay a pterodactyl to make the noise.
No.
That was the genuine drama device of the Rising Sun. It has run out of dry cider that fuels it, so we've had to resort to advertising subsidies, which is why we're sponsored this week by Yams. They're great. Little Hercules. This is what it's turned out. Natalia Little is a local farm shop entrepreneur who must try to get out of a barrel with 3 chickens and a full-on deer, or else God will exact his will. Things really get going when Natalia becomes acquainted with Flinders Hercules, an anaesthetist who once recorded an album with Jimmy Nailpet. Things really heat up when the town becomes rife with ritualistic Aztec murders, and the two of them must crack on despite some floundering. Will they convert the nation to Jesus? Without a doubt. That was brought to you by Yams. They're great. So the actual
this film
synopsis
would have been infinitely better if it had Jimmy Nail in it.
Oh, anything would be better if it had Jimmy Nail in it. I've not done the jingle for it because I've forgotten, because I'm not used to doing this because James is normally here. We are talking about, of course, 2009's Little Hercules, brackets Little Hercules in 3D, if you had a 3D television at the time. The actual synopsis: Little Hercules goes to Earth to experience life as a real boy, leaving Mount Olympus for Burbank. They don't mention it's Burbank ever. Where his time leaping sparks a chain of culture-classing misadventures. Breakdown. That's what it says. That's what their synopsis was, which feels like they ran out of words at the end. Because there's no time traveling.
No, I mean, I suppose you could say he come from ancient Greece to modern day LA, but we don't know that. They didn't have the budget for it.
It doesn't matter. Let's wait into this because we've all got better things we could be doing. um, God, I don't know who this was for.
No,
It's not good enough as like a Mr. Nanny Hulk Hogan vehicle.
No, it's not at all.
And weirdly, there's some great actors in it. Like
it feels like it's like a favor for Hogan.
Possibly.
That's what it feels like.
But I mean, we open up and it's a sky shot of clouds and letters coming towards us because it's 3D, right? Because that will become apparent all the way through. Certain things happen just because it looks good in 3D.
Yeah.
I
remember that, like, in that period of time when 3D was starting to take off, and like every film just had an unnecessary 3D
thing
scene in it.
Is it My Bloody Valentine 3D when he throws the axe at the screen and
terrible.
stuff? Yeah, it is terrible. But if you watched it in 3D, it's like, I mean, Dredd was filmed in 3D, and it's the best film ever made. So
I was going to say Dredd's one of the best films ever made.
And we open on Mount Olympus, where for some reason Socrates. Played by actual actor Elliot Gould. He's giving a one of those, like, what was it? On the day the time began, the heavens were filled with flaming fireballs, 1 billion stars, and one special place, Mount Olympus. And I'm like, right.
So how many days do you reckon it took Elliot Gould to shoot all this stuff in this?
One afternoon.
I absolutely was one afternoon, and then like maybe a little bit for voiceovers because he does a few voiceovers.
There is some ADR to Billio in this film, yeah.
Oh God, there is. Because
I'm assuming Little Hercules, is it Danny Paddock? I think he's called. Richard Sandrak. I don't know where I got that from. I'm assuming he had his voice dubbed over because
multiple times because he's part Ukrainian.
Right, because I mean, it's good. It ties back as he is a bodybuilder, and like Arnold Schwarzenegger's first film was Hercules in New York, and they had to dub his voice over.
See? Yeah, he does look like miniature Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, he's not wearing a goose suit.
That's true. True.
So it's a carnival term. Oh mate, and Zeus is there, and played by Terry the Hulk Hogan.
Terrible Terry, as we'll refer to him throughout now.
Yeah, Z Hulk, and like Diane Venora as Hera, who, if my Greek mythology is correct, she was the queen of the underworld. Hera?
No, isn't Hera Zeus's wife?
Yeah, but she's a wrong un. She's a bad un.
Oh yeah, she's a bad un. Which
I don't know.
They don't commit enough time to let us know she's a bad one in the film. All of a sudden, she's just being an asshole.
Yeah, for no reason. Because she's a vampire, probably.
Yeah.
And they're going on, and Hercules wants to come to Earth so he can learn to dance. That's his main reason for wanting to come to Earth.
Sure is.
Yep. Zeus goes, no, and then throw some thunderbolts at the screen because it's 3D.
Because it's 3D, yeah. You've got to do that.
And while he's doing that, Hera opens up a portal, and Little Hercules jumps on a plastic shield and surfs through the clouds to land on Earth.
Yeah, well, it all starts with just a random fight scene, doesn't it?
Well, no, because then the Big Show, played by Paul White, who's playing Marduk from Babylon.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. It felt like
real.
No, none of it's real. He arrives, and then they have a fight where they're throwing fireballs and lightning at each other.
I think he said he wanted them to like build a timeshare or something like.
I don't think. Why not?
Something like that.
Because Babylon should be the home of the gods and not Mount Olympus. I think that's his main beef.
Yeah, and then when we get to Babylon later, it's just definitely hell or Hades.
Oh, that bit where they filmed the end of Spawn. Yeah, they just.
Yeah. It does look like that.
It looked like a PlayStation 2 graphics. Yeah. They have a fight. Well, not even that. Little Hercules lands in Burbank and walks around while getting yelled at by people off camera. And right, this is the bit I didn't get because it changes halfway through. Zeus and Marduk say if he can survive 5 days on Earth, then what was it like? If he can't survive 5 days, then
if he can't. Well, it's haggling, isn't it? So like Marduk says 7 days, and then Terrible Terry says 5, and then Marduk's like, Marduk says 3, and then Teddy goes, no, 4.
I said, yeah, I think that's what they call a joke. It's the closest thing we get to a joke in this, I think.
I do find it funny that like Hulk Hogan's acting is literally just he doesn't shout. And that's like the level of his acting shop is he's just not going to shout this time.
Yeah, he doesn't though. Like
No?
it's a sad turn of affairs when the best thing in this film is Paul White. Like,
I mean, yeah, he is comfortably the best thing in this film.
Which is when you've got like Judd
just
Nelson and John
full.
Hurd. Yeah, I guess it's more fun being there. So yeah, Little Hercules has to survive on Earth for 4 days, 3 days, sir. Otherwise, all the gods have to move to Babylon. ?
Yeah. And he can't use his superpowers, but they only establish that halfway through the film because that's when they remember.
Well, I think he can use them 3 times. Oh, is this when he found him in the toilet? I think that's when he found him in the toilet.
Yeah, that's when he found him in the toilet, so you can only use your super strength 3 times.
Yeah, which he then burns on useless shit as well, I find out.
Yeah, he just does it doing all of the Olympics. It's like...
Save him up. Yeah.
They did need to get that javelin shot going towards the camera.
We've not even got to that, boys and girls. The exploding discus. He meets the hero of the film. I don't know. Yeah. Curtis, who was having his dog assaulted by his skateboard assaulted by a dog.
That's the most irresponsible dog owner.
To be fair, I was furious at this guy because he just comes in and goes, "It's a big Rottweiler and all, isn't it? It's a big dog. It's terrorizing this kid."
How'd she get here?
Yeah. Hercules comes along and Crocodile Dundee's it. And then the dog owner comes along and goes, "Wow, I've never seen her behave like that." I was like, this kid could have been mauled. Like, I'm not saying, XL bullies, but
I think that's kind of like the establishing thing that he shouldn't probably have a dog.
Well, no, the owner of the dog shouldn't have a dog.
That's what I mean.
Oh, I thought you meant Curtis. Yeah, Curtis picks his skateboard up, and they're now best friends, even though Hercules is walking about in a loincloth and like one of those things that goes around your nan's toilet.
Still with a sword and shield.
Plastic Avonga's shield.
Yeah.
And then this is where we meet the baddies of the film. XX played by Nick Hogan, channeling his best mid 2000s Blink 182 haircut.
Freshly turned 18 Nick Hogan.
But Curtis and Little Hercules are about 12?
Yeah.
So it feels very unfair. They're riding about on skateboards as well, and we get this really long tracking shot of them, which yeah.
And then when they all because they all start fighting in a warehouse for some reason.
Yeah, they want Curtis's skateboard for some reason. Curtis lures them into a warehouse that's got 4 cardboard boxes and a bouncy ball in it because props are difficult.
It looks like it's like cardboard boxes full of like bootleg jeans.
Put him in the car hole.
Yeah.
But and then Hercules, like baby Hercules, Little Hercules, beats them all up because he can. But that's using his powers. But we haven't lost the powers yet.
Yeah, we haven't established that bit yet.
And Nick Hogan's like, "Oh, I'll get you, tiny Hercules."
There's some fella who's with them, and I say fella because he looks like he's about 30 odd. That they just throw in front of him. He goes, "Oh no!
Oh, the Mean Street Posse, them 3 lads." Yeah.
Just randomly.
Oh yeah, because then Hercules just rips out a concrete, a pole out of the concrete and just bashes them with it, and I'm like, that would kill a man. But
yeah,
no, it's all pratfalls and wacky nonsense. It's and then for some reason they go to Curtis's house, where his mum has got a hot date and she's prepared to leave him unattended while she goes out trawling for strange.
No, she had the babysitter come round, didn't she?
That was only established as she was going to leave and not come back. Like, yeah.
She sure was. There was a weird bit in that where I was seeing as well where Hercules just shouts, "You will not steal!" And I was just instantly thinking, this is just super. This is where they got the idea for that film.
Yeah. Stealing. Oh, man. It would have been better if he had a pipe wrench and just bashed Nick Hogan's skull in.
It would have been better if it was just Rainn Wilson playing Baby Hercules, to be honest.
But like the Alan Partridge bit where it's his face on a child's body and it's just too big.
And no one acknowledges at all throughout the film that it's like a guy in his 30s at the time with like a load of children. He's just got his head on the child's body.
Oh, but yeah, they go. Little Hercules is injured. He's got a cut above his eye.
Yeah.
So they sit him on the toilet. Curtis's mum's well impressed that Curtis has got a friend. Because to be fair, Curtis is annoying at best.
I mean, I feel like I'd be done with Curtis's shit very quickly.
I mean, Curtis is a creature of the writers who are obviously an old white man who's trying to write like a black teenager.
Oh yeah.
Because there's lots of bad.
There's
things.
lots of lines like that. Yeah.
Yeah. His mum comes in, and to be honest, I'd freak out if I came home and my son was like tending to another naked boy on the toilet.
Yeah, you'd have questions.
You'd be like, okay, I see you've got a friend, but are you okay? Because this is not normal behavior. That's when her friend, the babysitter, comes up and she goes, I'll just go on the date because all women are interchangeable in Hogan's universe.
I mean, to be fair, she does also say that really, really weird line going, oh, have you got an older version of you? To Little Hercules.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's not okay for the babysitter to say that.
No, it's, yeah. Well, I think it's supposed to... We never see her again anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No.
I'm assuming the date went successful or she was murdered and, dumped on the freeway.
Sure. They had to cut it because of budget cuts, probably.
Yeah, all the explosions, the pterodactyl, that cost about 8p.
Yeah.
So all right. So he now lives there as well. Like, they just adopted a child.
Yeah.
As well. Like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Mount Olympus. Right, okay. Well, night. It's so bizarre. But the next day, he goes to school.
Yeah, he doesn't know what a phone is either.
Oh, phone call?
Cell phone call.
But also as well, as we said, his voice is dubbed over by a man.
Oh, absolutely.
I thought it might have been the juice that he was on that might have lowered his vocal cords.
Well, he was on the
He was deep on the juice, yeah.
Deep on the gas.
He goes to school next day, and they've dressed him in cool clothes, which is Jinko jeans and a purple vest.
A nondescript basketball shirt which had no badges or numbers on because they couldn't fit it in the budget.
Well, mate, when we get to the dance, they couldn't afford licensing of music, let alone anything else. I'm fairly sure all the music in this is stock music that's free, because I've used some of it before. I'm sure I have.
Oh yeah, absolutely is. I mean, they couldn't even afford Brooke Hogan to sing her own song while they were paying her to
hear
be
something in the
film.
background of that, but before we get to that, he introduced them to, I believe she's called Rizza. Is the girl in it? There's two of them, the two cheerleaders that X is hassling.
Yeah, it's
and
like
in a kind of racist way, even though they're not Latino. Like, I don't think they're meant to.
I mean, Nick Hogan's already a deeply problematic man, but fuck me, he's deeply problematic in this film.
I learned it by watching you, Father, isn't it? Yeah.
I learned everything from you, Daddy.
Yeah, and like baby Hercules is like tries to get him to stop, but they threaten him, and then this again 12-year-old girl spawning over him, and I'm like, who is this for?
It's so and like they just go, oh, by the way, this is my sister, and then she just like mumbles a line that you can't really understand. It's like, okay. Again, like you can this film is like Spot the Nepo hire, I swear to God.
Oh,
because that's definitely a producer's daughter or something.
It makes Neil Breen look like fucking Steven Spielberg. This film, it's so bad. What happens next? Let's find out, because I've lost where I'm up to.
Isn't it when they're doing the javelin and that?
Oh no! Oh, we forgot. While they were in the toilet cleaning each other up, Curtis leaves and Hulk Hogan's face appears in the toilet water.
Oh God, it does, doesn't it?
This is an integral plot point, kind of.
Oh no, isn't that in the morning when he's getting ready for school because he's trying to wrap himself in toilet roll?
Oh yeah, because he doesn't understand what bog roll is as well. It's before they go to school. Hogan's face appears in the toilet and he's like, "Oh, you having fun, are you? Right. Well, you can only use your superpowers 3 times. And if you can't live like that, if you draw your sword and accept your destiny, you'll be...
I won't let you back home."
Yeah, man. It gets so confusing.
Then he's like, later, goes, "Oh yeah, if you draw your sword, you can come back home." It's like, make your mind up.
Well, he says you can't. He just doesn't want him there, because later on, he's like, in the locker room, he says, if you don't come back in a day, you're never coming back either. It's like, my dad locked me out that time.
Yeah.
It's confusing. It's what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, and we find out the school is closing.
Which is just a random, like, surely if a school's closing down, it's not going to close like during like the school year.
Yeah. Unless you win the big sporting event. because again, it's like, oh man,
Because
if he had
lazy
to do
writing.
if he had to do a breakdancing contest to save the youth club, I'd have been fine with it. But this makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah,
I
so they
mean,
go.
I think they only had one dance scene in the budget, mate.
So yeah, they go to school and there's no lessons. You never see them in a lesson.
No, you don't do.
It's probably why the school's closing because they just do sports all day.
I mean, he's just doing like whatever it is, track and field outside, and then the head teacher's just randomly playing the piano in a car park at one point.
well, that's when Curtis's mum, who is called what's she called? Devan? No, that's
Dina, I think.
Dana. Yeah, she
Dana.
appears and they're loading all this stuff up. And the teacher is Judd Nelson, Bender from the Breakfast Club. And he's in this because I guess he had a DUI or something. He needed to pay a fine off. I don't know.
I look at it as IMDb. I think he just likes doing crap films, mate.
You get it's easy money in it because he's hardly in this as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's like, "Oh, we're having to shut the school." Curtis's mum's like, "Oh, that's a shame." "Oh, a piano. Yeah, I used to be in a jazz band. Great. Nothing comes of any of this.
Never comes up again. No,
like
it's just
all this setup for things that's just like, right. Well, anyway, I'm looking after a kid called Hercules who apparently goes here, and he goes, "Nah, no one called Hercules goes here. Bye." All right, that's that sorted then. Like,
okay. No one called that goes here.
No,
but he doesn't like do his due diligence and find out why the kid's still just appearing in the school.
Well, that's the thing in all these films, isn't it? Like in Back to the Future and like California Man and stuff. They just go to school and nobody checks. No one does registers or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, at least California Man, it's Brendan Fraser and everyone. No one's going to get upset
about Pauly Shore and it's good. But
yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, the track and field thing, and they're walking about, and XX, double X, XX, I don't know.
XX, double X, it changes.
Nick Hogan, anyway,
is
like the best sports guy at the school, which tells you something.
I mean, you say that, and then there's a bit later where he has to run, and he shows that he's really not.
No, yes. Oh, the wind sprints where they just run across the field and then like the camera fades out.
He doesn't even know how to line up for a sprint.
Oh,
looks like he's twerking.
But baby, Little Hercules picks up a discus and like yeets it so hard that it hits a fence and explodes into digital pieces.
It looks the same kind like level of CGI as the hit kids show Reboot.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yes.
I like Reboot. And
I love Reboot.
Coach Nims, who is John Hurd, who is the bad guy from Big and the dad from Home Alone, sees this and he's like, "What a scoop! We got to get this kid to win because we haven't won in 24 years, and maybe if we just win." They don't even go up against another school, though. It's just them against themselves. I've just realised.
No, they explain that, and it's really, really lazy, but it's really funny.
All right. Well, I'll wait till we get to that bit then.
I remember
I must have blinked and missed that.
You would have blinked and missed it. It's like a passing line.
So they go, right, discus, you're great. Here, Jimmy Javelin, he can throw it dead far. And he just stands there and throws a javelin. I was like, you don't even have to run up, mate. Like, no wonder you're shit at it.
No wonder these guys aren't winning anything.
No, because they're all lazy. Little Hercules uses his power to throw a javelin into a stop sign, which explodes digitally. Again, right? We've paid for one Adobe package, right? After Effects package, and we're using it for every shot. And he goes, "That's one use gone." And I'm like, stop using it on pointless things.
He realizes doesn't he realize it's two, or is it one? Oh no, because he gets a free one weirdly when he does the discus.
Oh, because he just uses his normal power for that. That's what he says.
Right.
Which I don't understand why he's so weak later on then.
If he's using his normal power for that, like, he shouldn't be able to explode the discus.
Well, he is ripped, but
that's true.
Yeah, and then we get like a montage of him doing sports day, basically, but without all the good events like the egg and spoon race or the sack race or the dressing up race. Just him. I think he does the javelin. He does
shot put, and then for some reason does baseball
and throws a baseball at a man who falls over. And that's his three uses of his super strength gone. He just spunks them to impress.
He just realised, we haven't got the budget for me to be strong the whole film. I've got a picture of Nelson up later.
From his AA meeting. And so, the teacher's like, great, we've now got a chance of winning this thing. What thing?
Yeah, I mean, and also he's just like, he's just going to all the other kids in the team. You're all shit.
Yeah, it's not a way to motivate people, is it? Really? Like,
I'm gonna get the little buff boy here to come and
little
do
buff
all,
boys.
to come and shot put his way into our hearts.
Yeah, and this is about half an hour of the film. Is this?
Yeah, it takes up a long portion of the film.
And then I think is this when like his Curtis's mum is looking at a laptop and opens up an image of
She's on Encarta and she sees Hercules' sword and shield.
Right, because I often when I'm bored just scroll through Encarta, you know.
I mean, I say Encarta, it could have been Encarta, it could have just been the wacky, wonderful world of Hollywood internet.
Yeah,
you just don't know.
Yeah, and she's like, that looks very similar to the sword and shield that tiny buff boy had when he came in. I'll go and check in the cupboard. And it is
in the cupboard
because he just left. He can't carry. Well, even though it's California, I'm fairly sure you can't walk around with a sword.
I don't know.
And yeah, but they go back to school the next day, and they're doing sports day again because there's literally no education in Burbank.
There is a high school dance as well, which is impressive. They squeeze that in there as well as.
No, like... is this not where he loses his powers and he gets sad first, and then it's the dance? I think.
Oh yeah, no, it's the head teacher comes, doesn't he, on the night? And that's when he throws Judd Nelson into a pool.
Right. So she goes and speaks to Judd Nelson and is like, "Oh, he's got this sword." Brings it to him in what was it, Al's bar and grill.
No, that happens well later.
Is it? Oh, mate, my timeline's all over the place.
Oh, so like she brings the head teacher around to her house. She's like, "Why don't you come over for dinner?" And he's like, "Oh no, I probably shouldn't," and then he does anyway.
Yeah,
even though he does say he's not going to do it.
I mean, the way Curtis's man bends over that chair to check a laptop, I'm surprised like there isn't a queue at the door.
That's true.
True. And then they're talking, and Hercules is telling stories of Mount Olympus, and Judd Nelson just goes, "This kid's fucking mental. We need to get like social services on this."
He definitely, they're talking about getting social services. They're saying he's probably got a head injury. And then he gets angry and he picks up the chair with Judd Nelson on, and as he's like stood there holding him up in the air, Olympic torch. That's when Terrible Teddy decides to take his super strength off him because Hedda goes.
Oh, yes, he's his normal body. Yeah. Yes, it all makes sense now. So he's back to being a normal boy like Pinocchio. And then the next day at school, sports day, because, I mean, say what you will about the American education system. They love their sports.
They sure
he can't do anything. He can't even run and jump. But that might be because Hera is going next to him.
Every time he jumps.
Because that's enough to distract a boy from jumping, I guess.
I love the fact that, like, that's the one time in the entire film where, because she like opens up, like, again, they probably used a load chunk of the budget for this. She opens up the screen like a sliding door.
Yeah.
And then it shows her in Olympus, but then Hercules in the school. As the only time throughout the film that no one actually acknowledges these people are here.
I don't know whether they can't see them. No, wait, because later on, the guy in the convenience store sees them.
Shows up in a car park.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a fight with Paul White in the car park.
Yeah. So he's like, and the coach, dad from Home Alone, is like, "Oh man, what happened? You were great yesterday, and now you're shit. You can't even run and jump. Like even a child can do that."
He defo alludes that the kid should have steroids as well.
Well, then they go and have a talk, and little Hercules is like, "Oh man, little buff boy." He's like, "Oh man, I've lost all my strength." And the coach goes like, "Yeah, sometimes strength comes in a powdered form." And I'm like, "Are they doing steroid jokes?"
I mean, yeah.
I mean, why not?
I mean, Hulk and Little Hercules probably have the same dealer, to be honest.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Nothing was ever proved with Little Buff Boy. Hogan.
Hogan admitted to it in a courtroom.
Yeah. But so the coach is like, "No, strength comes from inside. It's what being human's all about." And we get this kind of like good bit, like, because he's again possibly one of the only 3 actors in this film who are actors and not nepo babies. And like Little Buff Boy goes home and Curtis is like, "Here, play with my Power Rangers figures. Power Rangers, they're great." Like, it's
go Power Rangers.
And he's like, "Nah."
It's the fact, like, he's got the Power Rangers and they're like the literal center of the shot, at the front and center of the shot.
Oh man, did they make action figures of this? I want a Hulk Hogan as Zeus action figure.
I hope so.
If not, I'm gonna make one.
I doubt they had the budget to, let's be honest. But he pulls out like for some reason, an empty action figure box to show him the box. It's like,
Yeah.
why are you keeping the plastic from the box? You're a weird child.
So we can put it back in and it's mint in box then, isn't it?
Yeah, I
No.
suppose, but
No,
I mean,
that's not how it
a kid
works.
doesn't think that, does it?
No.
To be fair, Curtis seems like a bit of a grifter, so maybe
Possibly, yeah.
He definitely would be part of the grift.
I think next day's the dance, isn't it?
Next day is the dance.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They just arrive there. Like it doesn't even, they don't even explain why
there's a dance in the next couple of days. There's normally a poster up or something, but no, they just arrive at a dance where there is no music playing, right? Because I'm assuming they couldn't get clearance for the song.
Probably, yeah.
There is something playing very quietly in the background, which I'm assuming was what they used so that everyone had something to dance to. But if you look, people are dancing at different beats to everyone else as well. From
seeing the Hogan Knows Best episode of This Is Research, because apparently I hate myself.
Well, mate, welcome to my world. Yes.
They tried to use this as like a way to kind of like propel Brooks' music career, but then they couldn't get the rights to the song for the film.
Wow.
So
that's some bad management.
Oh yeah. So Terrible Teddy managed to get his whole family in the film.
Oh yes, because we've also failed to point out that Hogan's wife Linda.
You see Linda briefly as like the secretary, and all she does is just smile
and takes the glasses off and puts them on and takes them back off again, like in really quick succession as well. Like they've got just improvise glasses. That'll do. Yeah. That's all she does. She doesn't even have a line, I don't think. But
no,
this scene, I think, is possibly one of the finest cinematic scenes ever because it reminded me of that. If you see that, like the Mick Jagger, David Bowie dance in the street where they've just removed the audio and it's just
the audio off
and scuffling their feet. It's that. All you hear is feet scuffling in a gym while Brooke Hogan is gyrating around on a chair, but to no music.
Yeah, and it seemed really inappropriate that she's in there with a load of kids.
Well, it's very la 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 la, a little bit Alexis. Like it's very sort of Britney Spears 2000s-y. I think it was filmed in 2005 and released in 2009. This, so like it's about that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that time period. So she's trying to do that like that Britney Christina sort of thing, but to a bunch of 12 to 18-year-olds, which I don't know how American high schools work, but I don't think 12-year-olds mix with 18-year-olds.
No, I wouldn't. Also, there's not that many kids that go to school anyway.
But why would you? Unless you're good at sports, what's the point?
Or piano, maybe.
Maybe. No, that's in the car park, mate.
Well, that's true.
Like Euston Station out there.
Yeah, and then he has a dance with that girl he likes, but no one ever comes of it.
Nope. That's the dance. Oh, they get on stage because he goes, "Oh, can you dance?" And he does some like traditional Greek dancing.
Yeah, he does like an umpire dance, and he goes, "Never do that again."
Never do that again. And then he gets on stage with Brooke and does some great sort of PJ and Duncan style dancing.
Yeah,
it's the closest thing I could put it to.
It was kind of like shit Blues Brothers.
Yes, I'll give you that. Yeah,
it was kind of like shit Blues Brothers.
And if you had music over it, it probably would have been better. But it was just a little buff boy gyrating on stage, and I'm like,
it was the
anyone comes in now, I'm on a register.
The music was far too low in volume for any kind of substance at all.
I genuinely thought, has my TV gone wrong? And then I found like a YouTube. No, they couldn't clear it. So
absolutely.
Should we keep the scene in? Does it add anything to it? No, but Brooke Hogan's in it, so we have to keep it in.
We promised Teddy we'd keep Brooke in the film. And the way they keep like doing the camera angles, like it's like Kevin Dunn's filmed it to put some reference in this.
Yeah.
Mate, going between Brooke
cuts
and
to her,
everything
like
else.
She's moving her head, and then it cuts to something else, and then cuts back, and I'm like, I couldn't tell who it was anyway.
It's like a found footage film.
Yes, shaky cam. And that's the dance, like the best scene in the film, as far as I'm concerned, because
it was the scene that upset me the most in the film. But we'll get to my favorite because you know what it is. Because I did just text you going, "This is amazing."
I think the next day or after the dance, the head teacher Paul White appears at the top of some stairs and is now a teacher at the school.
Substitute teacher, and they bring him in like a scene from Little Nicky. Where like Adrian's coming up through hell, like you see the silhouette of him transforming,
and it's quite good. Like to be fair, of the effects in this, and he comes down, and like Paul White's having fun with it. He's just chewing the scene.
He's dressed like he's going to his dad's funeral. It's amazing. Got the double leather on. You'd love to see it. This was his Oscar. He couldn't have won it with Knucklehead, so he had to do it with this.
And he's the substitute teacher who they brought in, even though the school's closing, and they only teach sports. So he's now the assistant to the assistant coach of the sports team. Yeah.
And the dad off Home Alone won't let him near Hercules. He's like,
won't let
he's
him
my
touch the
special
buff boy,
project.
because a kid like this only comes along once in a lifetime, he says. And then he just yells at X and all his mates and makes them do quote unquote wind sprints, which is just them legging it across a field.
Yeah,
But,
and Nick Hogan has probably never sprinted in his entire life.
well, it's not really a sprint, is it? It's more of like a slow amble. But
Well, yeah, that's true.
I think they got
That's
overtook
true.
by 3 old men in a bathtub. Like, you know what I mean? It's just. But I think this is. Is this where they go to Frank's Bar and Grill?
Yeah.
She's found the sword and she takes
Well,
it to
so-
Judd Nelson.
She goes to Judd Nelson and says, I found this. And he goes, will you take it? Will you bring it to me? And then during school hours, he fucks off to a bar and
mate.
grill.
Well, he only teaches jazz, and he can't do jazz and run.
That's true.
You can't scat and do the high jump.
He's a head teacher. He doesn't need to be there.
Is he the head teacher?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I like the book she brings him is just called Greek Mythology and has and anything on the back or anything.
It's
yeah,
just got the one like picture that she shows him. That's
It's the
it.
same picture from the Encarta, actually. I'm fairly sure.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so they go to this bar and grill, and this guy, there's an old man stood at the back who's like, and he checks his watch as she walks in, and he's not even wearing a watch. It's brilliant. It's a good bit of character acting. That he's like Daniel Day-Lewis, that fella. They sit down.
And Full Method to be guy
He
at
did
bar.
go full method. He's like, I'm going to do it without a watch. Imagine there is a watch there. She gives him, all right, and he opens the sword, which again I thought would incur some kind of wrath, but no.
You'd hope so. There'd be like a curse involved or something.
Or a big bolt of lightning to just try because you can't.
I suppose
muck
that's more
about
the
with-
ancient Egyptians and the ancient Greeks, isn't it?
Nah, look at Calabos, like he got turned. Anyway, that's an actual good film about Greek mythology. Not the remake. And he opens it and it's got CGI writing on it because they couldn't afford to get it engraved either. Like
I would have loved it if they just got a printout and put it on.
it's just a
It's all right.
it's just a cardboard sword for the long shots.
Just a photocopy.
And it says, she goes, "Can you read it? What, ancient Greek? No, I teach high school at Sports High, mate. Like, no, I can't."
He knew what it said, and then he was like, then he just happened to have a guy who could carbon date it. He was like, I know a guy, but I've left my phone in the car, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna go
that
get my phone.
That was very porn stars, wasn't it? That it's like, oh, I'm just gonna get my like Civil War Confederate flag guy in.
I mean, this was like literally 2008. I don't think many people have carbon date guys just lying around there.
Not when they work as the jazz head teacher of Sports High.
Well,
like, what is he carbon
exactly.
dating?
Pianos,
Fucking
mate, clearly.
Chet Atkins records. It doesn't make sense. But yeah,
None of it makes sense.
no, to be fair. It translates as I accept my destiny.
Accept my destiny or something like that, yeah.
And he has to say it 3 times and he will get his powers back. But as we find out, because I think we cut to the boys' locker room again, one of the 4 shooting locations for the film.
Yeah.
And X and his incredibly old gang of cronies that seem to grow every time as well.
They all seem to start looking like grown-ass men.
Yeah, which, again, if you're only doing sports at school, how do you graduate? Like,
Well,
they've all been
exactly.
held back indefinitely until they can, do the high jump. Or
So they get better at sports, but they're getting older, so they can't.
yeah, all the knees are fucked now.
Knees like
And-
dust.
Right, and then is this where the thing happens then? Because they're like,
Which thing?
X goes, our team's gonna fight your team in the tournament of sports.
Yeah, so Marduk, Big White, Big Paul, not Big White, that's something much worse. But Paul White decides he's gonna like get all the kids to defect schools, which I'm pretty sure you couldn't do that in an afternoon.
He could use his Babylonian powers.
Yeah, I guess he could
guess.
use his his
'Cause
Jedi
he does
mind
later
tricks.
on, and we get the one
Yeah.
joke in the film, and the only good bit of acting in the film as well.
That's true. That's
So,
true.
are they all defected to a different school now?
Yeah, that's why they had orange uniforms on at the end.
Oh, but then that lad comes in.
I have no idea what's happening there. That's just a
Right,
complete,
okay.
like, what's going on here?
Right, okay. All right. So Paul White has poached all their best quote athletes.
Yeah.
And it's a team of like 20 middle-aged men and Nick Hogan against Curtis, who is shit at everything. We never see him do a sport, and
And
little buff
Hercules.
boy. Yeah.
Yeah, little buff boy.
Buff boys.
buff boys.
Right. And that happens, right?
Yeah.
And
in the meantime, that's when Tall Paul comes to get the sword off Judd Nelson.
yes.
He's like going to his car to carbonate the sword in the boot. And then Terrible Teddy comes in and joins, and then all of a sudden they're having a fight in Babylon.
Well, I think he appears to the little buff boy in the locker room, and he's like, "You're weak now. Unless you come back to Mount Olympus tomorrow, you can never come home." And I'm like, "You can't keep moving the goalposts on little buff boy. It's not fair."
Isn't that after the fight though? Because they're like, "Doom, no doom," when they're fighting, and they've got CGI pterodactyl.
Oh, well, no, because they punch little Curtis and then they punch little buff boy in the tummy as well. And
Grown-ass man punches
grown man beating up a child. Right. And then I'm sure Terrible Terry shows up and he says, like, "You can never come home unless you come home now." And he's like, "No, I have to stay."
Yeah, and he's like, "One day."
Then he goes out and Tall Paul is assaulting Judd Nelson for the sword. And we get the fight where Terrible Terry throws him into a car that has no engine in it, and he's cost about 50 quid from the scrapyard. Like,
and then they just turn the car park like something out of Dragon Ball Z into like some big fire and flames bullshit. So,
because I'm assuming there was like a Rock Vin Diesel kind of situation here with these two. Hogan then has to be thrown into a car, but it's clearly not Hogan as well. Like, Tall Paul, fair play, took his bumps on this. Like,
Hogan definitely was like, "Nah, I'm not bumping."
Nope. Much like the real world, yeah.
Well, yeah, the only time he leaves his feet, he's like on like a zip wire, like spinning in midair really slowly.
We'll speed that up in post. We won't speed that up in post.
They didn't, which has made it even funnier.
So yeah, they have this fight. He throws Terrible Terry into the car, and then for some reason we get pulled into this hellscape / Tekken fighting arena, which is Babylon. Apparently, I thought it had hanging gardens and was nice. Babylon.
I thought Babylon was meant to be like really nice. Maybe they just couldn't get the rights for Hades.
Paul, I don't know. I don't think you can copyright Greek mythology, surely. Like,
I mean,
I don't know.
It wasn't there like an actual Hercules film out at the same time with Dwayne The Rock in it?
Oh, could be actually. 2009 is probably a good shout. Yeah.
Possibly. So maybe he's like just like going, "Listen, man."
Oh, so this is just a cheap cash in then, isn't it? This is one of those.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a cheap cash in because there was like Hercules film and it's like Little Hercules.
It's one of the ones that your nan gets you because she got confused in like HMV. Yeah, Transmorphers.
100%.
The Asylum film series. Yeah, right. Then they go to the Circle of Fire and we get a brilliant like pull shot and then just a shit pterodactyl.
The actual again, 1996's reboot is all I was seeing with these like CGI effects.
Oh, but why is there a pterodactyl? I don't.
Oh, because it's not hell. It's just a spooky land with dinosaurs. But
right.
Also, when they're having the fight, like it's like they'd like lost the budget for like fake breakaway pillars.
Yeah. Well, it's all. I genuinely think that Hogan and White never met in this film. You never see them on screen together. So I'm assuming it was done, all the shots are done separately. Yeah, this is what I was thinking. And all the lines are directed at like nothing as well. Like they're just speaking them. They're not actually talking to someone opposite them. Also, Babylon, there's nothing else around Babylon. All it is a circle of fire. That's all that's there.
That's true. I'm sure there's a scene where they're both stood right next to each other.
All right, and there may be, but it felt like they were just on different sound stages.
It would be funnier if that was the case. I'm trying to find out what White was doing at the time because he's got hair. I don't know whether it's his own hair or if like that ship had sailed by that point.
They've stuck on Hogan's beard, don't they? So they've obviously invested in a lot of spirit guns.
I mean, they probably used most of the budget to give Hogan that wig.
But they have a fight in Babylon, and it's terrible. Tall Paul picks up a CGI pillar, like, and fair play to him. He does some good mime, right? For a man who's a wrestler and not a trained, Marcel Marceau walking against the wind, trapped in a glass box guy. I think he does passable. I'm like, why haven't you just got a pillar he can throw, like a styrofoam pillar? Because you see his hand pass through it briefly,
And they do actually have styrofoam pillars earlier in the film.
Yes, Mount Olympus, yeah. So
you could have done it.
They have to repaint them though, because Babylon's evil, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
We haven't got the budget for that.
No.
Then they have this fight, and nothing comes of it, and then they just go, "All right, bye. Like,
yeah, he literally he's like, doom, no doom.
yeah.
And they're like, we must let Hercules settle this. It's like, oh, well, sounds like you should have just done that anyway.
Well, you're going to get your 3D pillow then, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
it's terrible. It's absolute terrible. Then I think it's the day of the big sports event, isn't it?
It is the day of the big sport.
Oh no, we missed the bit as well where Tall Paul's in the corner shop.
when he's yeah, and
he's just like, housing hot dogs.
Yeah, he's amazed by that. They've got like the coffee thing on the burner. He's like, invisible fire.
Yeah, and I was like, and then Hera appears and she's full Transylvania now as well.
Oh, like she's like to the point where she like shows up like a vampire bat.
Yeah. And it turns out she's in cahoots with him, with Tall Paul, so they can go and live in Babylon together? ? Dethrone Zeus as king of the gods. It's never fully explained.
In Greek mythology, Hera's just trying to fuck over Zeus and Hercules, isn't she?
Yeah, all the time.
And
because
also Zeus is trying to shag anything with a pulse. And
yes,
thankfully, there's very little Terry Bollea goosing in this film.
He doesn't actually even turn into a goose, which I'm fairly sure Zeus did at one point. No, yeah.
Probably.
Again, I'm not up on my my Greek mythology that much, but right.
So yeah, we're at sports day now, aren't we?
Yes.
Which is a fever dream in itself.
Yes. So it's sports day, and little buff boy has now got the confidence in himself. And he does a long jump that is apparently 17 feet? He jumps about 8 inches, if that.
Yeah, something like that.
They're like, it's a new record. And I'm like, who was at your school? Hop Daddy?
So there's something that really confused me here, because like they literally had the announcer guy who was there, and then he brought out like that Spanish fella.
Yes. Now I think
like Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, I thought it was Maradona.
No. I was gonna say that was definitely like a mate, wasn't it? It was just like, oh yeah,
I think he's the director. I think he's sort of Neil Breened himself into the film. I'm not 100% sure.
The director is in the film.
Yes. Yeah, but I assumed it was him because he doesn't do anything and he's just there. And I thought possibly. And I think the director is Spanish, or I've got a bit in the facts about him anyway, because I found a film of his that I really want to watch. Swiss. All right, maybe it's not him then.
Yeah, but that's when they explain about the
oh,
kids.
Is it? Right. Please explain, because
So literally that guy just goes, oh, it would appear that all of the other team have decided to defect to Dawson High now. It's like, okay.
Right.
And they've all got orange shirts with
but so if they win, they stay open. If not, we all have to go to Dawson's Creek High.
I have no idea. That
right.
I don't care.
I don't want to wait. Right, okay. And then they do a long jump, and Double X beats him by an inch. Great, whatever. And then Christ.
Then they have Elliot Gould doing a voiceover saying Hercules won.
No, because this is when he has a crisis of confidence, little buff boy, doesn't he? And he walks into the school, and Paul White's menacingly dribbling a basketball line.
Hera tries to give him the sword. Curtis's mum has a fight with Hera, but gets battered.
Yeah, because
Hercules then decides he's going to be mortal.
But he uses the sword and he does his Greek thing.
Does by the power of Grayskull.
Does by the power of Grayskull. And then Zeus appears and goes, all right, decision made then, is it? All right then.
Yeah.
You can have some of your powers back, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he gives him some, because then he goes and throws Tall Paul into the camera, picks him up. Tall Paul taking bumps on a school floor as well. Well done, that man.
Did.
He picks him up, he throws him on a wire, obviously clearly on a zip line, into the camera, and that's Tall Paul for a while. And then we get the Elliot Gould voiceover, where one of my favorite events, and one of my favorite voiceovers, Elliot Gould, and Hercules won several events that day because they couldn't be asked showing them.
They just had, like, as I say, they were just trying to get the money's worth out of Elliot Gould and went, right, we need you to do a little voiceover here just to kind of like sell them on.
But all the way through it, we've had so many montages of sporting things, and they didn't have one for him winning stuff.
They just done it in that.
Yeah.
No, why would they?
They had a girl setting up racing blocks. Like, what's that got to do with anything?
Maybe Little Buff Boy wasn't very good at the sport after all.
Possibly.
When they actually needed them to do them.
But several events. And it comes down to archery. Well, I'm guessing if the last event is archery, which isn't in the decathlon,
no,
I'm assuming the rest of the events were bizarre sport.
But they have baseball as one of them for some reason.
Yeah.
And even talked about doing baseball.
So,
which,
yeah,
okay.
it's a team sport. And there's only him and Curtis on the team. So that's going to be very difficult to field and, like...
He just thrown a ball at him and killed him, and then that was it.
But yeah, so X and his crew, you only get one arrow as well in professional archery, apparently, which is not true.
Yeah.
You don't. And they all get quite close to the bullseye, despite the fact that I think they're using shoot-through bows. Anyway, whatever. The technique's terrible as well. Always my argument with people with archery is that, like, learn to shoot. It's not hard. Little buff boy explodes the center of the target digitally.
Yeah, digitally, yeah.
But then, wait, everyone's celebrating. Hey, all the crowd are celebrating. I've also noticed, well, Judd Nelson's got sunglasses on all the way through this film. I'm assuming because he's hungover as fuck all the way through it.
No, he keeps changing them because when he's indoors, he's got his glasses on.
Oh, okay. Maybe he's got the reactor lights that change when you go out in the sun.
They make a point when he's walking to his car to get the thing carbon dated that he swaps glasses.
Wow.
Because that's why he doesn't see Tall Paul.
Right. Okay. But yeah, everyone's won. Oh, great, film's over. We can finally stop this. No, Tall Paul's back, and he's brought Kintaro from Babylon High. Because why not at this point?
He's like a 35-year-old man.
And he's ripped as for like
he's built like a brick shit.
He's a genuine like martial arts like daddy. Like he's yeah. And for some reason he's in this. I don't know. And this was the bit that made me laugh. Like the referee guy goes, "Well, no, you can't do that." And Tall Paul uses his Babylon
Jedi
powers.
mind tricks.
Jedi mind, yeah. And he goes, "Okay, we'll do it." And then the coach and Thingy comes over, and it's the only bit of genuine acting. And I'm assuming they were told to improv because if you look, Kintaro cracks up as well.
Yeah.
Where they're going on about, I'm hungry, let's go and get some ribs. We're on a sports field, where are we going to get ribs from? And I guess that's the funniest thing that's ever happened in this film, to be honest.
I mean, it's definitely one of the things that happened in this film.
And then they just have a race, and it's of no determinate length.
Oh, Terrible Terry cuts a promo over the race.
He does, actually.
Like an actual Hulk Hogan promo, which is probably where most of the budget went. Speeding that footage up and the little tornado thing going on.
Yeah, well, he's like,
promo.
because Hera's like, oh, well, he used his sword, so he can never come back. And Terry's like, nah, mate, I'm going to give him his powers back. He can live amongst mortals, but with the powers of a god. And I'm like, what? Okay. So then,
doesn't he say he'll be the strongest mortal of all or something like that?
Yeah, mortal of all, brother. But this race goes on for ages, like, and also like Little Buff Boy would be disqualified because he crosses into Kintaro's lane as well,
and also he'd definitely fail a piss test.
Oh, totally.
Absolutely,
but, like,
fail a piss.
He gets the power thing, and then like, wow, a wind machine hits the crowd, and one guy takes it too seriously and slides all the way down the bleachers as well. The one stuntman they had. And yeah, he just keeps lapping around. But again, this bit of him running fast, it's like 4 minutes of him just running. It's just the same bit of footage over and over. We get it. He's running fast, right? It's great.
That was like this film's Superman, like flying around, like put time back.
Oh God, I wish it could turn the time back so I didn't have to fucking watch it. And then he wins, but the school still closes. Yeah. So that's a feel-good ending, isn't it?
And then Paul like just turns into dust, like the end of Infinity War.
Oh, it's great. He goes, he's so angry.
Greatest shot in cinema history.
It is beautiful. I might see if I can GIF it and put it in when I do
I would love a GIF of it.
But yeah, he disappears. And then it cuts to like outside of school the next day after sports day. Time in this film is hazy.
I think it's just after.
Why is he not sweaty?
I don't know. He's a god, mate.
Yeah, I guess.
And yeah, then Judd Nelson finally decides he's going to ask Curtis's mum out.
Yeah, I'm going to take her for a romantic meal. And Curtis goes, I'm coming too, new dad.
Curtis and those two girls will just muscle in.
And then two girls go, yeah, we'll come along as well.
I'm telling you, the one with the braces, who's just like an inconsequential character who just happens to be a sister, absolute nepo hire. There's no way in hell she got
I believe, looking at the thing, I think they're twins. They're actually twin sisters. So,
and he just didn't want to upset one of them.
But
outstanding behavior.
Then Terrible Terry appears and he's like, "Come on, Hercules, it's time to go now." And one girl goes, "I like him." That was it.
literally I'm sorry, I'm just looking at IMDb and it's literally Reza and Reza's sister. It doesn't explain
just
what
even get a name, mate.
They do have the same surname though, so they're probably twins.
All sisters, yeah. But
Yeah.
although Irlanda and
Outstanding.
Italia, so Ireland and Italy.
Yeah.
Brilliant, well done.
Yeah.
And Terry's like, no, you can come back, but you have to come home now or something. I don't know. At this point, I was like, I don't know what's happened.
Yeah, he calls him Big Dad or something like that, or Big Daddy.
Yeah, we also missed the bit where he's like, I want to become mortal because I have friends. And I'm like, you got Curtis, mate, and he's awful.
And then he looks up. Terrible Terry looks upset because he realizes he's been a terrible dad, which I mean, that's art in imitating life, isn't it?
And then they just walk away. And like, do you think he'll come back? Yeah, of course he'll come back to Burbank. They mentioned Burbank so many times in this film.
Yeah, but he says to him weirdly, "Oh yeah, you're gonna have to live on Earth, but you've got to live in Greece."
Yeah, and I'm like,
so it's like, what's the point of him doing the whole thing? Because he wants to be immortal, but now it's like, no, but you have to live in Greece.
Yeah, now you got to live in Greece, and not the Cypriot half either. No, just
no. You're basically just living in a box next to the Parthenon and just hoping for the best.
And then he walks away, and they walk off into the clouds, and yeah, that's right, Big Daddy. No, that's right, big man or something. And then Hogan turns and faces the camera and goes, "Who's your daddy?" And punches the camera in 3D. And that's the film. And
then Elliot Gould tries to have the audacity to hint there might be a sequel.
Oh, well, again, it was big Clash of the Titans vibes because it does this, and there are millions of stars, and it shows like the
that's a story for another day.
But yeah, that's a story for another day. I was like, this ain't getting a sequel. If
that
it does,
piece of garbage.
Also,
Elliot Gould would have done it. Probably got paid loads of money, like more money than the film actually made.
Well, I've got information about that in a second.
Oh yeah.
But also Zeus is spelt wrong in the credits.
I mean, that's probably just so Tiny Lister doesn't come and hunt Hulk Hogan down. They've been feeding for years, mate.
And that's the film. I've got to say, like, despite the fact there's good actors in it, the plot is incomprehensible to say the least.
It might be the worst film I've ever seen.
Oh,
I think it is.
It's not as bad as Lady Circus, Nightmare Barn, which is the worst film I've ever seen on this show. No, you don't. Really, it's there's nothing redeemable in it at all. I
mean,
I've seen a lot of shit on this show. This is in there. This is like top 5 shite films.
Oh yeah.
Just because it doesn't make sense. Like,
no,
it feels like the writer wrote like a page a day without reading or folded the page over and then passed it around the room. Like when you know.
I want to know how much creative control Hulk Hogan had in this film.
I don't have that information at hand, but I will ask for your score we normally do it gold, silver, bronze, out of 5. So
what's the lowest I can give this?
1 bronze something.
1 bottle of bronzer from Terry Bollea's trailer.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, it's 1 bronze Brooke Hogan dance routine for me because it's just bewildering, and like I watched it twice and I still don't understand what happened in it.
And it was an absolute fever dream when I watched it once. So watching it twice can only
ruin your brain more.
Yeah,
but it's time. Now he's not here, but I'm going to use the same music for James Facts. That was 2009's Little Hercules in 3D. There was no budget available for this film, but it did have a gross worldwide take-home of $513,000, $722. So, yeah, just over $500,000.
I was hoping you were going to just say $513.
That
would make me so happy.
Which, if you didn't want to fund this film, or you want to, spend the money on this film, that's enough to get you approximately 1,369 Hollywood Hogan NWO replica belts. If that's how you want to live your life. Or you could pay for about 400 of your pals to go for 2 nights of Mania. So that's something to think about.
That's a lot.
It's, the CGI on it alone. This was directed by Mohamed Khashoggi, whose only other note of film I found was Karate, a muerto on Torremolinos. which actually looks really great. It looks like a kind of exploitation thing. The plot is an evil doctor wants to wake up a sea monster in Torremolinos. A Catholic surfer and his gang will try to mess up his plan.
That sounds amazing.
I watched the trailer for it. It looks like Acrobat Super Show. Like it looks bang on. There's like a Spanish punk band playing on the top of it. It looks great. Written.
I'm just looking at the poster now. That's great.
Yeah, you see. I think it's all in Spanish though, unfortunately. There'll be a dubbed version. Written by Robert Morris, who has a fairly extensive body of work as a writer, director, producer, and all that sort of stuff. But nothing over 5 stars I could find. But he did write, and Jay pointed this out to me, Backyard Dogs.
Which, yeah, I'll probably be back to watch that with you, won't I?
Which is apparently a terrible film about 2 lads who want to win backyard wrestling championships to save the local
It's a backyard
youth
wrestling
club.
film. Yeah, it also has the Black Power Ranger in it. And Frankie Kazarian.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay. We'll have you back for that then at some point, I'm guessing. Zeus, obviously, as we've said, played by Terry the Hulk Hogan. It's been a lot of films we probably should cover. Suburban Commando, Mr. 9, 3 Ninjas on High Mountain, which Ethan wanted to do. But he did appear in one of the Christmas films we covered, Santa with Muscles. And if you haven't seen that, I think it's all on YouTube. It's well worth watching because it's terrible.
It's a bad film.
Hogan just made like weird films. Like, was it Blue Thunder?
Secret Agent Club was
Secret
an
Agent.
absolute doozy.
Yeah.
He got paid a stupid amount of money to shave his tash off for that.
Can you not just pull it off like Mr. Potato Head?
No, but they turned it into a storyline in WCW where Kevin Sullivan, the evil Satanist, shaved his mustache off. And it was just so they could do a scene where Hogan had like a fake mustache on and like a wig and took it all off. And then he was like just smooth as a baby's ass.
I have to go back and watch that. I don't remember that bit. And Hogan without a moustache is going to be terrifying.
It's so bad, but it's so good.
But yeah, he is something of a problematic person. So the less said about him, the better, really.
Yeah, fuck the Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, as Einstein said. Dana, played by Robin Givens, who's an incredibly accomplished actress. Again, turns up in this for, I'm assuming, the paycheck. But will sadly always be remembered as Mike Tyson's first ex-wife.
Really?
Married him for like a year and then divorced. Also an incredibly accomplished violin player, apparently, as well, which is nice. But basically, the main thing we're here for is Richard Sandrak, Little Buff Boy, Tiny Hercules, whatever you want to call him. Buff Boys. And his story is kind of a weird, like, oddly sort of, I don't know, starts off tragic, gets good. At the age of 2, he was born in a small village in the Ukraine. And then his parents moved to Pennsylvania, which is out of one frying pan into a worse frying pan, I don't know. And at 3, he was lifting weights because his dad was a martial arts expert and his mum was like a keep fit guru thing. Yeah, and they moved to California to participate in bodybuilding competitions when he was like 7.
So he was a real little buff boy.
He was a real, no goose suits. He was, yeah, real chode, real little tuna can, yeah. And like, there is a documentary which I couldn't find. I was going to watch about it because apparently his dad was quite problematic. They hired like a performance coach, and the coach was like, I think his dad's like juicing him. But they couldn't prove it and stuff. And then like he apparently only had like 1% body fat, which is incredibly unhealthy because it's not good for you and stuff. And it ended up with like his mum and dad getting divorced and trying to sue everyone, and it's messy. But he come out of it, I'd say, relatively unscathed because he seems to be a normal lad. Now he gave up bodybuilding because quote unquote he got bored of it, which fair enough.
Mean,
and now
if you were like living that life as a regime,
since you were 2,
yeah.
But there's like this. I was reading interviews with him, and he's like, my dad would eat pizza in front of me as punishment, and I had to just eat like lettuce and stuff. And I was like, that's like weird, cruel, and unusual sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's very dark.
Yeah. I think there's more to it than that, but I didn't want to go too far down that well. But yeah, he got bored of it. He wants to be. He said he'd like to, be a scientist or something when he grows up. 'Cause I think he must be about 20 something now. I think.
Let's find out.
But the last piece of information I could find out about him was that he was working as a stuntman on the Waterworld live show at Disneyland. The live stunt shows they do.
Oh.
So I mean, it's
fair enough.
It beats weightlifting, and you see the pictures of him as a kid. It's gross and weird. Like it's
very odd. He is 32.
Oh, so yeah. But I'm like, yeah, I hope he's got his life sorted out. I mean, this is terrible. This is clearly like, I think his parents contracted him into it. Although he looks like he's on the tail end of his little buff boy sort of career. But yeah, I just, it's those are the fact. I don't know. I'm not good at it. The one review I could find for this that wasn't like this is dog shite comes from Fussy Tongue. 2 out of 5 stars. Unsure about which is worse, the special effects, the plot, or the acting. Had it only been the non-actors, such as Hulk Hogan, although as an entertainer he could have really done better, and Little Hercules, who so misbehaved, I might have forgiven it, but Elliot Gould? Really? I guess he forgot he is an icon. I guess he just looks like he happened on the screen by mistake. Mark John Jeffries is probably the only one who sounds natural and unrehearsed, albeit linguistically too stereotypical. Robin Givens and Judd Nelson do a little bit better than most, I guess, but their characters are all the more disappointing as they potentially barely whet our appetite rather than attempt to quench it. Maybe it is the misdirection, maybe it is my expectations. However, the fight choreographers look like they are still being rehearsed. I was thoroughly disappointed about the strength show that stars martial artists, wrestling stars, but showcases none of their goodness. I mean, we got one wrestling move, I think. Although if it was proper Greek wrestling, they'd be in the nude anyway.
They would.
And nobody needs to see that.
No one needs to see that. Don't look it up.
I first thought, do you mean young Hercules? But I soon realised that the movie is clearly just a promo ad for Richard Sandrek as Little Hercules, the child or boy bodybuilder known as the world's strongest boy. But even at that, he fails, showing us none of what that implies. As a low-budget, plot-feeble comedy, it excels, especially with Hera, the Babylonian god from Transylvania. That's it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, she is definitely from Transylvania.
I mean, just do staff Let's flat voice, isn't it? That's what you need. But yeah, I cannot recommend this film to anyone. It is bad.
It's a dreadful film.
It just real bad, even for the stuff we usually do. That's the lowest score it's ever been given. And there's nothing more to be said about that, really.
Don't watch it.
It is on Amazon Prime. If it's not even one of those ones when you're drunk and you've got people around, you can have a laugh with it because it's just bewildering.
It's definitely up the Morbius scale of bad film. That's for sure.
Morbius is better. Morbius looks like Citizen Kane compared to this.
That's true. Well, because obviously we do have Two Nations Under Ted, and said to you the acting from Little Hercules in this was like makes Henry from Ted Lasso look like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, it's just
dreadful behavior.
I think it's because his voice is dubbed as well. He's always going to sound weird. But Jay, thank you for coming on. Where can people find you if they want more of you?
If you want something similar to this, as I just said, me and Joe have a podcast with our good friend Tom Clark called Two Nations Under Ted, where we talk through Ted Lasso from beginning to end.
Yes.
We are going to be doing something else fancy when we can figure out what that's going to be.
Finish this first.
That's true. I'm also on a wrestling podcast called the Untitled Wrestling Podcast. You can find us Untitled Rest Pod on all social media and where you get podcasts from.
Thank you very much for coming on once again. We normally end with your favourite line from the film, but
it's not really a line. It was just when Paul White exploded into tiny pixels.
Hercules won many events. That's all I've got.
He won several events.
The horseshoe. Say goodbye, boys and girls.
There's nothing like concrete, is there?